This is Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Senior, and of course, thank you so much for supporting this show and clicking on today's video. I hope everybody out there is having a fantastic weekend by the time that you watch this. Coming up, after the NFL draft, this roster has changed and altered a little bit. So we're going to do an updated look at the Philadelphia Eagles depth chart. First, though, a lot of you are gamers, and a lot of you play the iconic game Madden. And a lot of you, if you don't play it, you're familiar with the Madden scale. How would you rate the Eagles roster? Scale it for me from 1 to 100. 1, it sucks. 100, best by far in the NFL. Share your thoughts and opinions with me. Let's begin at the quarterback spot. No movement, I don't think, that we're going to see going into 2025, of course, at QB1 and QB2. But there will be a very intriguing training camp battle between Dorian Thompson-Robinson and Kyle McCord. They are going to be duking it out for QB3. I don't think it makes a lot of sense for the Eagles to go with 4 quarterbacks on a 53, given how deep they are elsewhere on this team. And I'm calling it right now. I think McCord is a better processor. I think he throws with better touch, anticipation. I think that he has a stronger arm. I think he has more promise as compared to a player like DTR, who the Eagles really liked in the pre-draft, but based upon what I've seen when he's gotten some starting opportunities with Cleveland, looks a little bit small, has struggled throwing the ball. We know he has that running ability, but Kyle McCord is a very promising developmental player at that quarterback spot. With Jalen Hurts, of course, the grind is always on. Just won the Super Bowl MVP in February, and the offseason work has continued. There was that infamous video a few weeks ago of him in the gym at like 4 a.m. before the clock hit 5, and then the Philadelphia Eagles tweeting this out this week of him at the NovaCare complex pushing some plates. It's awesome. I love the work ethic, and that is a championship mentality. To the running back spot, Saquon Barkley, RB1, coming off the best single season for a running back in the history of the NFL. I'm going to make Will Shipley RB2, not A.J. Dillon. I think that Shipley is the better player. I think he's more elusive. I think he's more dynamic. And I don't think that A.J. Dillon is a guarantee to make this team. Keep an eye out on Ty Davis-Price, who's on the 90-man, and then Shenderick Powell and Montrell Johnson, 2 UDFAs. Powell from Central Arkansas, Johnson from Florida. For Saquon Barkley, he's going to be 29 this year. And he led the NFL in touches a year ago. In the last few years, if you look at the year after the running back from the year prior, after they've won the rushing championship, they've missed a lot of time. Their production has gone down a lot. We know that Saquon has a little bit of an injury history. I called it last year. I said that he was going to win Offensive Player of the Year, playing behind this offensive line. If he can stay healthy, all good. If he gets hurt, you have some concerns with that ground game, considering how often he was used last year, but no doubt a one-of-one player is Saquon. At wide receiver, some depth concerns that I have here if A.J. Brown and or Devontae Smith were to get hurt, but luckily up to this point, they've been very healthy together, and they form to be just a lethal wide receiver combo. Jahan Dotson is a very viable wide receiver 3. The Commanders did take him in the first round out of Penn State a few years ago. I don't think he'll ever be a number 1, but I do think he's a really good option. Outside of that, it's an unknown room with Johnny Wilson, who's big but plays small. Looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane. Anaya Smith has looked good at moments. He's looked bad at other moments. He's small and only ran a 4.5 40-yard dash in the pre-draft. What's good for Philadelphia at this position is that they have A.J. Brown, who's a top 3 wide receiver, and Devontae Smith, probably the best number 2. Borderline top 10 wide out. So slippery, great route runner, plays bigger than his size. He's so tough, so dynamic. He has a vertical speed as well, and they both have that great kinship on field with Jalen Hurts. To tight end, huge unknown here. We're not sure what happens with Dallas Goedert. The backup situation, I do think the Eagles have some sneaky good depth here. Greg Calcaterra isn't the blocker, of course, that Goddard is, but has good size. He's a gifted pass catcher. The Eagles adding 2 tight ends in free agency. Harrison Bryant is 6'5". Kylan Granson, a little bit shorter, but a really good blocker. And the Eagles have compared him to Trey Burton from an athletic profile standpoint. The Eagles did not draft a tight end in the NFL draft. And so Dallas Goedert, that could increase the likelihood of him coming back as he enters the final year of his deal. $11.8 million cap hit. He's due about $15.5 million in total cash for this upcoming season. Final year of his contract with no guaranteed money. So obviously he's looking for an extension, but I think the Eagles are worried about a couple of things. If he wants more money, combined with the fact that he's missed about 30 games the last 3 years. Eagles offensive line, still the best in football from left to right. Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Lane Johnson, all of those players, either Pro Bowlers or all pros. The question mark there is with Tyler Steen. The Eagles let Mekhi Becton go. I would have thought about paying him the $10 million per season that he got from the Los Angeles Chargers, but they also drafted Steen in the 3rd round. I thought they had to address offensive line depth in the NFL draft. My gosh, did they do that? I mean, they added 3 more offensive linemen to the team. Miles Hinton. They traded for Kenyon Green in that C.J. Gardner-Johnson trade. They drafted Drew Kendall. And I think a player who a lot of people should be promised by is Holland Pierce. Guy's 6'8", massive wingspan, UDFA out of Rutgers. I thought he was going to go in the 5th and 6th round. He was a UDFA. And so he's a developmental player for Jeff Stoutland. And that brings me to this. I mean, what a luxury it is for the Eagles to have Jeff Stoutland on their coaching staff. It's crazy how another team hasn't given him more offensive coordinator interviews or head coaching interviews, because I've interviewed him. He can demand the room. I think that he could be a good head coach, but he has churned out and developed the heck out of offensive linemen. Best offensive line coach in the NFL. And it feels as though pretty much you put any offensive lineman on this team, and Jeff Stoutland is going to maximize that player. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do, especially with some of these draftees, some of these younger players, and a UDFA like Holland Pierce. Let me bring up this topic since we're talking about the big boys. And this is a popular topic in pop culture this week. I don't know how it started, but it's a fun debate, and we had it here in the office. Who would win in a fight? 100 men versus 1 gorilla. Type M for men, G for gorilla. I'm going with gorilla. You piss them off, they are mean, they are physical, they are athletic freaks, and I think that a gorilla would have this unbelievable stamina to take down 100 men. You let me know down in the comment section right now. Get your Eagles jerseys, by the way, thanks to our fine friends at Fanatics. All you have to do is use that link down below, chatsports.com/Eagles jersey. It will take you to Fanatics. Fanatics will know that Chase Sr., Eagles Now, and Chat Sports sent you. And it's always good to rep the birds. And it's always good to get your jerseys prior to the 2025 season, because sometimes these jerseys are in demand. They can take a little while. So plan ahead. Get yours now. Chatsports.com/Eagles jersey. Current players, former players, midnight green, white, Kelly green. The thing about this Eagles roster, it is stockpiled with some unbelievable players and great talent. And so you really can't go wrong with a lot of jerseys. Now, we're recording this during our live show. I just want to pass along what some people are saying. Callie Green, gorilla. Carol Hosey is going with the 100 men. Troy, gorilla. Joe Lord said 100 men easily. Very, very interesting. To the interior defensive line for the Eagles, I think Moro Ajomo is going to be able to step in for Milton Williams, and that'll come at a fraction of the price tag. You know, Milton Williams got $26 million per year from the Patriots. Good on him. He was the 2nd highest graded pass rushing defensive tackle, according to Pro Football Focus grade, among all interior defensive linemen last year. Guess where Moro Ajomo was? 7th. And his pass rush win rate was better than Milton Williams. And so you lose Milton, it's going to hurt, but you have Moro Ajomo, who is still a really young player who the Eagles got a couple of years ago in the 6th or 7th round out of Texas. And he's still only 23 years old. He'll be 24 in training camp. You draft Ty Robinson. You exercise the fifth-year option of Jordan Davis, so he's under contract the next 2 years. Thomas Booker is more of a slender defensive tackle, but he has some quickness and smarts to his game because he's a Stanford guy. A lot of academic thresholds there. And then you have Jalen Carter, Byron Young, and Gabe Hall. This Eagles team, along the interior defensive line, they have star-level players and a lot of depth, and that's just Howie Roseman continuing to build in the trenches. And is it fair to say that Jalen Carter, who's going to be 25 on April 4th, can take another leap going from year 2 to year 3, where last year he was one of the most dominant overall players in football? Who's to say he can't continue to get better? He's a freak of nature, man. At that edge rusher spot, again, Howie has positioned this team so that they're very deep with pass rushers. Nolan Smith had 1 sack as a rookie, 6.5 last year, 4 more in the playoffs. I think sneakily, what I'm a little bit worried about is that he had a shoulder injury in operation after year 1, and then he tore his triceps in the Super Bowl and still played through it in that second half. But twitch, bend, speed, he plays bigger than his size. He can set the edge. He's very physical for being around 250, soaking wet. Brings great character to this Eagles team. You have Jalix Hunt, who I think will start opposite of him, and he's going to help the Eagles replace Josh Sweat, and the Eagles will definitely miss him. But then you have Bryce Huff still on the team, Josh Uche, Azeez Ojulari, Antoine Powell-Ryland, one of the most productive TFL and sack players in college football the last 2 years. Like, that's a really good room right there. And part of the reason why I'm so high on the Eagles now and in the future, all these young guns, like Nolan Smith can also, like Jalen Carter, continue to improve, continue to develop and get better. And I just love how he also plays the game with no gloves. Fingers taped, that's old school, baby. To the off-ball linebacker spots, Zach Bond, Nakobe Dean listed as the starters now. But look, Nakobe Dean, that's a big question mark. We could replace his picture with a big fat question mark. We're not sure when he's going to be able to come back. And there was some talk that when he suffered that injury, he wouldn't return until the midway to latter portion of the season. And so after Dean, you have Jeremiah Trotter Jr. and Jahad Campbell probably as the top 2 players who would be able to step in as starters. You drafted Smile Mondone, who can run very well, very long, but he's a little bit slender for a linebacker. And then other than that, question marks as far as depth. I'm interested to see how the Eagles use Jahad Campbell. Incredible value getting him at 31. What I think they should do, use him like Zach Bond. What better player to learn from than Zach Bond, as Jahad Campbell can be a Zach Bond clone. Zach Bond was used as an edge. He was used as a blitzer in between the tackles. He is an elite coverage guy, and he had never done it before, but he has football smarts and athleticism in order to do that. So, too, does Jahad Campbell. Eagles cornerback room. I would keep Cooper DeJean in the slot. Keely Ringo, not really threatened by what the Eagles did in the NFL draft. I mean, he has 4.3 speed, and he's over 200 pounds, and he has height to his game. Eagles are very high on him. And I think him and Quinyon Mitchell will form to be a very solid outside duo at corner. Why I would continue to use Cooper DeJean in that slot nickel role, the versatility, I think, makes him a better player. It maximizes his skill set. We know he's an excellent athlete. Nearly a 9.9 relative athletic score. He's explosive. But you use him in that nickel role, you can use his speed and explosiveness to his advantage. You can use him as a blitzer. You can use him as a hybrid linebacker. He can match up with slot wideouts, tight ends, and running backs. Go back and look at some of the reps he had against Travis Kelce, including that 2-point conversion. He's lined up with Kelce, and he had sticky glue coverage on him. Depth, I think Eli Ricks can play. I like his length. You signed Adoree Jackson, who is a long-term veteran. Howie Roseman, even though Adoree Jackson's been in the league since, I think, like 2017, said we think that he can still play his best football of his career. Now you have Perry Nickerson, A.J. Woods, Tariq Castro Fields. B.J. Mays is a slot corner out of Texas A&M who has some good instincts. He's a little bit slow, but in that slot spot, he could compete for backup slot reps that you lose with Avonte Maddox. But this room also promising because of the young cats from the 2024 class. Quinion Mitchell taken at 22, and then the Eagles moved up in the second round to take Cooper DeJean not far after him. At the safety position, could we see a big surprise and see Andrew Makuba beat out Sidney Brown to be that strong safety next to Reed Blankenship? I kind of like that pairing of Makuba and Blankenship. They both play with really good feel, good pace, good instincts. They can drive on the football, make plays on the football. They both have a history of PBUs and interceptions, especially Reed Blankenship. I mean, how many times have we seen him make those diving picks come up from that safety spot? Makuba is a player who has 4.4 speed, a little bit slender, but plays physical, plays fast, makes quick decisions, not afraid to shoot the gap against the run, plays with fire. Very similar player who has nickel experience like C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Their measurables coming out of school, very similar. Sidney Brown, more of a thumper. At 5'9", he can really bring it with that 4.4 speed. But coverage-wise, sometimes he can get a little bit too over-aggressive, and he can over-pursue a little bit. Either way, the Eagles needed to address safety depth in the draft, and they did that with Andrew Makuba. Also, let's see what Lewis Cine can do as a former Georgia Bulldog who was drafted 32nd by the Minnesota Vikings. Let's see what Tristan McCullum and Andre Sam can do. But in drafting Makuba, he adds to that room. Now you have Blankenship. You have Makuba. You have Sidney Brown. You have some of those young developmental players who I talked about, and maybe the Eagles could sign a player like Justin Simmons or Julian Blackmon. So that is an updated look at the Eagles depth chart. Maybe some surprises there for some of you. Don't forget to hit that sub button. The coverage never stops right here on Philadelphia Eagles Now.